Hi everyone. Most of us are aware that the pursuit of education reform in America has been decades in the making, even as far back as 100 years or more. So there are many aspects of reform that we could talk about, but the one that I want to start with here this evening is the old familiar mantra of a crisis in American education, where the only solution is a new federal program. This, of course, has been a common thread in the education reform arena since the early days. Anytime the self-proclaimed enlightened ones wish to promote federal intervention, they refer to America's decline in academic achievement and the fact that America is slipping in the ranks of global competitiveness. This is the same crisis that gets recycled every time there's a new federal program that needs to be sold to the public. The newest iteration of education reform, called the Common Core Initiative, is no exception. It differs very little in structure from the outcome-based No Child Left Behind program that preceded it, where academic standards and standardized tests became entrenched in our schools. Except now the standards and the tests are national in scope and are no longer controlled by the states. So how successful have these federal programs been? I'd like to share with you the results of the education reform history in America using a Cato Institute study that was completed in February of 2011, where they compared student achievement data from 1970 through 2008. Based on education data from the National Assessment of Education Progress, the Long-Term Trends Report, and the federal funding data from the Office of Management and Budget. You can see from this first slide that over the 38-year period from 1970 through 2008, it was shown that the math, reading, and science scores only realized modest improvements. In fact, those flat-line colored lines at the bottom are the math, reading, and science scores. Math scores improved the most by 3.4%, while the reading scores improved by a dismal 1%. Yet the federal funding for education during the same period of time, which you can see by that blue line that goes straight up at the end of the graph on the right, increased by a whopping 375%. That's a shocking number compared to such minimal change in the actual academic achievement. Some will claim that the increased funding was a result of increased enrollment. But you can see from this next slide that the data itself shows school enrollment only increased by 8% during the same time, while total education staffing increased by 84%. The largest segment of the staffing increase is attributable to the non-teaching staff, which grew by an astounding 138%. What this means is that the increased involvement of the federal government in the area of public education, through its many varied programs and initiatives over the past 40 years, has done little to improve academic achievement in America. Why should we believe that it will be any different this time? At Idahoans for Local Education, we believe it's time to fire the feds and bring education decisions back home to the parents, the teachers, the schools, and districts where it belongs.